Disclaimer alert, I'm not a doctor nor an expert.
No shit.
Do your own research, but here's a start. How did we make it this far? For thousands of years, people farmed, fished, hunted, gathered, and built shelter under the G-type main sequence star located at the center of our solar system, all without copper tone, beach umbrellas, or hourly weather.com alerts. Today, we avoid the sun like Irish vampires. That's why it might surprise you that skin cancer rarely appears in historic records. All we have is Hippocrates' reference during the 5th century and a few cases in pre-Columbian mummies. Yet somehow melanoma rates have nearly tripled in men and doubled in women between 1950 and 2007. Tracy and Michelle over at the Highwire put me onto this topic after publishing an article about how sunscreen started as a French tanning aid and evolved into a requirement for anyone spending time outdoors. Then there's the FDA data that shows how chemicals can seep into the bloodstream. It's worth a read. But if the sun has always been there, and we have the most, quote, protection available than ever before, then why are skin cancer rates on the rise? Is it the sunscreen itself, or is there more to the story? First, let's look at the suspicious timing. Here's a look at the numbers without the medical jargon. Melanoma rates have been climbing since the mid-1970s. Back then, it was roughly 8 to 9 cases per 100,000 people. Today, it's over 20 per 100,000 people. Non-melanoma skin cancers have gone wild too. In the US alone, diagnoses and treatments jumped more than 77% between 1994 and 2014. Everybody knows about copper tone. It actually hit the shelves in 1944. But sunscreen didn't become a mainstream product until the 1970s to 1980s. By the 90s, not slathering sunscreen on your kids every 30 minutes might earn you a visit from the Department of Children and Family Services. That's about the time skin cancer rates began to soar. Sure, better detection and an aging population explain some of the increase, but not all of it. Then there's the sunscreen paradox. This is where things get a little bit uncomfortable. Large studies, including UK Biobank data, linked increased sunscreen use with higher cancer rates, even after adjusting for skin type, time outdoors, sunburns, and tanning bed use.
You serious, Clark?
Here's some of the highlights. Regular users showed stronger links to higher melanoma, basal cell, and squamous cell risk. Early chemical sunscreens blocked sunburn-causing UVB rays, the ones that produce vitamin D, better than UVA rays, which cause wrinkles and indirect DNA damage. A 2019 study found that common chemical sunscreen ingredients such as avobenzone, oxybenzone, and octrocrylene, and ecamsul are absorbed into the bloodstream at significant levels, often after just one day of heavy use, and stay elevated for days. A 2025 study by the U.S. Center for Disease Control shows that 97% of Americans are contaminated with oxybenzone, which has been linked to allergies, hormone disruption, and cell damage. A 2024 study involving over 470,000 individuals, which used the UK Biobank data, found that those who use sunscreen frequently had dramatically higher rates of skin cancer than those who rarely or never used it. Yet many of these questionable ingredients are still stuck in regulatory red tape. The industry had this data for years, yet continued to push chemical versions because they're cheaper and easier to apply and reapply than thicker mineral options. The more you use, the more they sell. Now, lab trials show sunscreen can help when used with shade and clothes, but overall, sunscreen is not the hero we once thought it was. It's not just what you can see and feel. We focus on the sun because it's in our face. We can feel it burning our skin, but there's a lot more at play, such as human behavioral changes. For example, our ancestors had steady sun exposure as part of their daily lives. Today, it's the opposite. We're stuck most of the time indoors. Then we suddenly expose ourselves to the sun on weekends or during vacations. Then there's dietary changes. People are not getting the nutrients that we used to get before we started living off processed garbage. Then you have modern tanning habits, either naturally or with tanning beds. People are living longer these days, and cancer detection technology is advancing. You even have planetary changes. We have a thinning ozone layer, and Earth's protective magnetic shield has been getting weaker. So does more sunscreen actually cause cancer? Well, that's tough to say. We know that behavioral changes such as living mostly indoors, crap modern diets, and planetary changes have changed how our bodies react to the sun. But what about all those chemicals in sunscreen seeping into our bloodstream and sticking around for days? The bigger question, why are safety studies still stuck in regulatory red tape after all these years? It's not the 90s anymore, where nobody questioned the chemicals they consumed and assumed everything was safe. It's no longer taboo to care about what you put in or on your body. Has big sunscreen run the long-term tests but sat on inconvenient results to protect profits? Or are they dragging their feet because they're afraid of what they might find? If you're like me, you're not holding your breath either way. Maybe the chemicals in sunscreen cause cancer. Maybe they don't. Either way, they're probably not great for your long-term health. What's to be done? Well, if you can, reach for more natural sunscreens and practice these summer safety tips. Here's 3 simple ways to monitor UV. Number 1, check the UV index. 3 to 5 is a moderate risk. Use the shadow test. The shorter the shadow, the higher the UV risk. Watch your skin. Cover up at the first hint of pinkness. Here's some more practical takeaways for you. Use hats, long sleeves, and UPF fabrics. Get 10 to 20 minutes of midday sun on arms and face most days for natural vitamin D. Use mineral sunscreen that use zinc and titanium when you need it, not as an excuse to stay out longer. And of course, support your skin from the inside with real food, sleep, and lower inflammation where you can. And if you're bald, a tinfoil hat could help too. Well, that's gonna do it for this version of NPC Overrider. I'm your lead engineer, Greg. But what do you think? Does more sunscreen cause cancer? Will you reach for more natural or mineral-based products this summer and practice staying out of the sun where you can? Or will you drink 14 beers and fall asleep in the lawn chair like I did this past weekend? Open up a ticket in the comment section and let's chat. But for now, we're gonna log out and grab a beer. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.